Welcome to the channel, folks. Welcome to another video. Today we're talking Fast, talking Furious, talking Fast 8, The Fate of the Furious, and why it's the worst one since Too Fast, Too Furious, possibly the worst one since ever. Here we go. So Fast 8, I didn't like it. Fast 8 was not good. It wasn't good in the exact ways that Fast and Furious movies are supposed to be good. I didn't like it so much that this is not really going to be a review but a rant. I'm going to walk you through a few things I liked first. Then I'll walk you through what made this thing so bad, starting by setting the stage for why this all went wrong and then going through the 3 ways that it did go wrong. So first, let's get what I did like about Fast 8 out of the way.
You know I like my dessert first.
The movie starts off good enough. It starts with the race scene, which is cool, over the top, but cool. And of course, you're not going to have a race scene without a 3-foot dolly shot. There's actually some car performance stuff here that checks out well enough for a Fast and Furious movie, so I like that too. And of course, this mean ass shot of the race starter. Shameless. Almost as bad as the one in Fast 7. But yeah, love that they are continuing the tradition of ass shotting the race starters that was begun in Fast 7. I didn't care for the backwards driving in the race. That was too much even for me and for this franchise. So unrealistic. But so is the 500-mile long runway in Fast 6, you might say. But that was for a big, massive action set piece. Does the backwards driving in a race really add anything? They could keep it more realistic and it'd be just as exciting. Anyway, the race scene and what leads up to it is good and very Fast and Furious franchisey, so I like this intro part. It was a good start and I thought we were okay. But then the rest of the movie happened, and it bothers me. Turns out this scene in the movie is the only thing Fast and Furious-like in the whole film, and I think even this was an accident. This opening part is just to check the boxes of having at least one race and at least one 3-foot dolly shot in the movie. Something I'll cover in a future video about the checklist of things you have to have for a Fast and Furious movie. But I think with this first scene they were just getting those things out of the way because with the rest of the movie, nothing seems very Fast and Furious-like. One more thing about this opening scene in Cuba. Dom's car. That car is a 61 Chevrolet Impala and is an anachronism. I don't know the exact date, but I believe both Cuba's ban on importing cars and America's trade embargo began before the 1961 Impala existed. So there should be none of those cars on the island. Let me know down in the comments if you know more about the extant cars on Cuba. Maybe they brought the Impala with them. Weird for him to have brought a car for just a honeymoon stay, but I guess it is Dominic Toretto. Either way, the car's out of place, which is good in this movie, because it means Dom and his car really stand out, since it's a couple years newer and drastically different in design to the other older cars. Anyway, unfortunately, that pretty much wraps up the good for this movie. Now to set the stage for the bad, also known as the rest of the movie. They had a lot to deal with in making this movie. Part of the challenge is the effect Paul Walker's death had on the storyline and mythology. They're trying hard to work the story out, to work out who is going to be in these movies. The absence of Paul Walker is huge in this movie, and is made worse by the absence of Han and the absence of Mia. They're trying to rebuild a team, which naturally cuts down on the attention paid to the existing team. I believe that given Paul Walker's death, they would have made more movies set in the timeline before Tokyo Drift and Han's death if they hadn't already killed Han again in Fast 6. But there's more. They're also dealing with Hobbs' retirement from the franchise. So while dealing with a depleted team, they're also trying to make Deckard Shaw the new Hobbs. That's made pretty obvious in this movie and explains the long, boring prison break scene. They must demonstrate that Deckard is every bit as badass as Hobbs, which is hard because The Rock is huge. The prison break scene builds on the fight scene in Fast 7 where Shaw almost gets the better of Hobbs. They also went to lengths to make Deckard a good guy, who just had some bad luck with his career like Hobbs had when Dom double-crossed him earlier in Fast 8. Never mind that he murdered Han, never mind that. He saved Dom's baby, so it's all good now. So that sets the stage for all that is to come. Depleted team, rebuilding the team, working hard to rehabilitate Shaw. With all of this, the creators of this movie never had a chance. With all they had gone through, retiring Hobbs because The Rock and Dom can't get along, losing Paul Walker, killing off Han and Giselle, the team was running low and it was always going to be hard to save it, so this movie had its work cut out for it. But to finally get into why I didn't like this movie and point to something specific, it's really 3 things. The characters' motivations are critical to the Fast franchise, and those motivations are way off in this movie. Second, the team had no agency, didn't work as a team, and was only a group of passive players along for the ride. And third, the writing betrayed not only the team, but also some of the beloved characters this franchise has created for us. First, the characters' motivations. The motivations are backwards in this movie. Let's go back to previous movies, I'll show you what I mean. In Fast 5, Dom, Brian, Mia are broke, and the team comes together to rob Reyes of $100 million. That's the motivating factor, money. In Furious 6, they bring the team back together to get Letty. That's the objective, the motivator. In Fast 7, the team musters because Han has been killed and Hobbs hospitalized, and Shaw is hunting the rest of the team. That's the motivation. In this one, there is a big job with a big action set piece at the beginning, that the team pulls off together. But why?
Why, Mr. Anderson? Why?
Are they just generally in the business of saving the world now? That's different, and it takes the emotional connection away from the team and what the team is doing and why. They're now just working jobs together, making a few bucks here and there, no big deal. We have no idea why the characters are doing it. The scene is not driven by anything other than just kind of wanting to save the world, which is not the point of their team and family. Matter of fact, it's the opposite. We always seem to see our heroes trying to live normal lives but getting interrupted. Mia scouting countries with no extradition in Fast 5. Dom living a simple life with Elena in the beginning of Fast 6. Tej opening his garage at the end of Fast 5. Dom, Brian, Mia, and their son living peacefully in LA in Fast 7. Now that's out the window and they're just professional world savers. As a motivation for these characters in these movies, this is weak. But for the remainder of the movie, the team kind of has a motivation, which is to catch Dom. But this brings me to the next reason Fast 8 failed, which is that our heroes have no agency in this movie. Everything happens to the team. Nothing happens because of the team. And on top of that, the team never truly works together. This is the big one, the epic mistreatment of the team throughout this movie. Once our team finally gets some motivation, catching Dom, it's immediately undermined. Because if that's the motivation, if that's the objective, then the team we're supposed to be rooting for is shown to be a bunch of clowns. Because they fail miserably at that objective again and again for the whole movie. This undermines not only this movie, but the entire franchise, because this is supposed to be the best team in the world. Not only do they not stop Dom, but he doesn't even need them at all to help him ultimately stop Cypher. He reaches out to the guy from Cuba, to Deckard Shaw, to Owen Shaw, to Mama Shaw, to Leo, to Santos for help, not the team. All the team's efforts are for nothing. He defeats Cypher on his own. Almost completely off screen, Dom contacted all of the aforementioned folks, set up and executed the entire plan to save his kid, pulled it all off, saved the team from Rhodes, killed Rhodes, saved the team from the submarine and the Heatseeker missile. The only role the team plays is in slowing down the submarine from getting into the open ocean, which they don't really do if you watch closely, and preventing the nukes from launching, which is unrelated to catching Dom. So again, what's the point? What's the motivation? So the team is a farce and their efforts are all for nothing. But they at least work together, right? Wrong. To begin with this topic, I'm reminded of something I read or heard in a review of Fast 5. It was that there was a lull in the middle of the movie where nothing really happened, where the action kind of got sluggish. With some movies and fan bases, that might be a problem for your pacing, but that lull is important for these movies. It's what has allowed the Fast and Furious franchise to create its unique emotional connection. The lull scenes let us see the characters in humdrum planning situations. In time when there's not much going on, Fast 5, 6, and 7 all have these scenes. These low points in the action allow some connection to the characters and show us that they work together, how they work together, and why. This was done particularly well in Fast 6 because it juxtaposed our team with Shaw and his team, the bad guy team. The scene shows that in contrast to Shaw's team, who seem to all hate one another, our team gets along, they believe in each other. But this ain't no Fast 6 review, so let's get back to it. In Fast 8, this is all missing. There's no point in Fast 8 where the ensemble cast is relaxed together, in control, problem solving, working on any kind of plan, splitting up to take care of parts of the plan or anything like that at all. This working together, everyone using his or her own unique strengths, is what makes Fast and Furious work. That doesn't happen in this movie. In this one, they just drive around and hope for the best. Basically winging it. Hardly the best team in the world. To demonstrate, consider the scene where the team uses grappling hooks to try to capture Dom. The team obviously worked on the grappling hook setups for their cars at some point, and we are forced to presume they developed some kind of overall plan to capture Dom.
Somebody just walk me through what we supposed to be doing.
But if that was done, it was all done off screen. At least some of that needed to be done on screen. During this scene, they could even reminisce about Dom not being there with them and how it's crazy doing this as a team, but against Dom versus with Dom. But we don't get that. This is a lost opportunity to inject those moments into this movie. Instead, all we're given is them sitting around lamenting. The grappling hook trick is just there. It's a surprise gag when you see it. And the team loses. Everything happens to the team. Nothing happens because of the team. Compare this to Fast 5, where not only do we see the team working together and socializing together, we also see the team working on two different plans to steal the money. These plans we never actually see happen. But this is perfectly fine though, because the important thing is that we see them work on the plans, not the actual action of the plan. Look at Furious 7. In that one, there's a scene where Roman takes over and decides where to hit the convoy. There's a scene where the team is all together looking out over Los Angeles and a plan comes together. There's also the chatter when they're in the plane together before they drop, and the scene where they go into the tower to get the chip. The team dynamic is demonstrated when they go over the plan in everyone's role. There's nothing like this in Fast 8. In Fast 6, there are scenes where the team discusses the cars Shaw's team used and what to do to stop them. Everyone contributes. There's the scene where they determine that Shaw will hit the convoy, not the army base. There's the split splitting up and getting pieces of the job done, like Han, Giselle, Roman, and the agent Hicks going out to get information from the guy at the garage, Han asking around and finding out where there's a street race going on. I could go on and on. Roman going into the police station in Fast 5, Han and Giselle getting the handprint in Fast 5, Brian and Dom going out to race for a faster car, and screw it.
This is Brazil.
In this movie, the closest I can come up with is in Act 3, where our heroes get to the submarine base and Tej decides to go in and get the chip and Ramsey decides to hack Cypher. This makes sense because of what we know about these two characters and their tech abilities, but it's decided on the fly, after they get there. It's clear they don't know what they're going to do before they get there. Didn't even have a plan for Tej to do tech stuff and Ramsey to do hack stuff. Again, lack of planning. Again, they're just there, hoping for the best, driving around.
Somebody just walk me through what we supposed to be doing.
If anything, the team being there threatens to screw things up for Dom because them being there causes Cypher to have Dom keep working, go up to meet Rhodes and wait and all that. She straight up says that she isn't letting him go because his team is there and is still in play, whereas he would be done if they hadn't shown up at all and the son would be released. Without the team, he'd have his son already at that point. Everything happens to the team. Nothing happens because of the team. The team is passive and occasionally reactive, but the same can be said of Dom even, at least from what we know, from what we are shown on screen. The hero of the franchise, Dom, has not much agency in this film and is being told step by step what to do by our big villain, Cypher.
Is this your game?
The team is reacting to what Dom does, Dom is reacting to what Cypher does. Finally, my third major issue with this movie. The betrayal of the characters by lazy writing, specifically the treatment of Roman Pierce. This movie goes out of its way to make him a caricature of his weakest trait, which is that he is reluctant to face danger and is a scaredy cat. This represents the one strong character item in this movie, but it is actually a big mistake. I'm talking about a specific scene that really bothered me. In the final action scene on the ice with the submarine, they have Roman riding in the huge truck on tracks with Hobbs driving. First of all, Roman's character is as a driver. He should be driving, not just riding. So that's number one. Then, the torpedo is skidding up along the ice next to the truck, and Hobbs wants to push it toward the bad guy, so he tells Roman to take the wheel, and Roman says, "I ain't taking shit," in a scaredy cat kind of voice. And it's like, wow, they really have no idea why people like these movies. These characters have been developed over 7 movies so far, and Roman is always reluctant to commit to certain things, like going into the police station in Fast 5, but he always comes through. And the other big thing about his character through all the movies, he is an excellent and fearless driver. That's his character. He was recruited by Brian in Fast 2 because he's a fast and bold driver, a trait that is emphasized in each and every movie Roman is in. But in this one, they decide to go all in on his reluctance trait to the point that they make him just a coward and take away the fearless driver skill from his character apparently. He's just a scaredy cat. He won't even drive a vehicle when needed. It's weird to make that big of a mistake. So the one true character thing in the movie is actually a huge misfire. So there's a 5-paragraph essay to make any 11th grade English teacher go mad. 3 reasons why this movie was awful. I better start summing this up. This movie, as the 8th movie in a very formulaic franchise, managed to screw up its characters, their motivations, and its signature team-family dynamic. Overall, the most important failing is that we only see the results of the team's jobs. The end of it, the big set piece. All the blowing up and fast driving. We don't get to see the planning or anything deliberative. Not what anyone was supposed to be doing.
Somebody just walk me through what we supposed to be doing.
Well, Roman, that would be great, but someone's phoning it in on this one. We aren't shown what any team member did, what role they played, how they did what they did, nothing. That is the heart and soul of these movies. All the value is in that. Getting the action set piece without the character-driven lead-up reminded me of Fast 5, when they showed the lead-up to Dom's race in the Charger to win the blue Porsche, but didn't show the race itself. This worked perfectly because the race is not important. What is important is showing Dom and Brian using their wits and skills to get what they need in a rough situation, and the team's reaction to and usage of that car when Dom and Brian return with it. This movie does the opposite. It cuts the team dynamic and leaves the boring action scenes. The team is just window dressing for a movie that not only revolves around Dom, like all the good Fast and Furious movies do, but is 100% committed to only Dom and nothing else. Final comparison. Fast 8 is like Avengers Age of Ultron, which few people liked, whereas Fast 5, the cream of the crop of Fast and Furious movies, is like the first Avengers movie, which everyone liked. Fast 8 starts out with the team assembled and hitting on all 8 cylinders. Like what I did there?
V8.
Just like Ultron, it's a frictionless world from the start. It unravels somehow and the characters are taken for a ride rather than deciding to go for a ride. The team has no agency, and even worse than in Ultron, in this movie has no leaders. Whereas the first Avengers movie and Fast 5 see the characters brought together to overcome their early friction, assemble, and win the day. Fast 5 is Avengers, Fast 8 is Ultron. So that's what I thought about Fast 8. Didn't like it. End of video. If you dare disagree, leave a comment down below flaming me for being so wrong about this one. I'd love to hear someone defend it. If you want more Fast and Furious content like this, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Till next time, this is Talking Fast, Talking Furious.
I will beat your ass like a Cherokee drum.